Today's guest has won Miss Olympia 3 times with a broken leg. She is also a single mom of 2 boys. She is an author of When Broken. It's a true honor to have her here today. Her name is Whitney Jones. I am excited to share your story, and I don't think you know this, but I actually competed in one for your fitness magazine cover, and it was actually my big motivator to finish my first book, The Truth Behind the Smiles.
That is the coolest.
It kind of popped up on social media to be on the cover of your fitness magazine.
Yeah.
And I thought, hey, why not? I've always loved to work out. I've always been very active, and I said, I'll give it a go. And I really got close, but I didn't win, but what I won is that I finished my book early and I got it published within months.
Oh, wow.
Because it was my true motivator to have it done. So I'm so honored to have you here as a guest.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here and to hear that too. That's ultimately the goal in anything. For women, it's empowering them to do things that maybe they are not allowing themselves to dive into fully, or think, is there a chance I could win? Nope. And you let all that noise and the negativity and anything that's just this chaos tell you can't. No, why not? At some point, someone's going to win that. Why can't it be you? And in that process and in that journey, the fact that you said, okay, I'm going to do this and this because you're preparing to win, that's what every athlete does. That's what every entrepreneur does. You have to just go all in, risk it all, and learn in the process more about yourself.
Yeah, and you know what I learned is that was really uncomfortable for me to put myself out there, take a picture of myself. I'm like, oh yeah, look at me, I'm all about it. Actually, I've got it right here. I had to print it off, you know.
Oh, that's so cool. And quarterfinalists.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 10,000.
Oh, I got close.
Over 10,000 that actually apply to this contest every year. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that is really cool.
For me to get out of my comfort zone, because I don't like to ask for help, but to put myself out there, to ask people to vote. And, you know, I just put myself out there, and my kids were so excited.
Oh,
they were
cool.
like, vote for my mom. And so it was just really fun, actually, process. And it was really fun to see people rooting for me. And they're like, you've got this. And so, like you said, it got me out of something I would have never thought I'd do, you know, be in this fitness magazine. But it was definitely a dream out there. I'm like, oh, why not?
Yeah,
you know?
why not?
And it kept me very motivated, too. I was like, hitting the gym. I'm like, oh, I better keep going.
Well, and it's like, I've got to film content. You know, you're constantly just trying to level up to go, all right, what is it that really makes me uncomfortable? And one of my favorite sayings is, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh, yes.
That's where the real growth happens. And people say it, or they try to kind of believe it and act as if, but unless you really do it, where you're going, this is something I know I don't want to do. I have fear, I have anxiety, I'm nervous, but you do it anyways. Mm-hmm. That feeling afterwards, as you know, you're like, wow, okay, it wasn't that hard. Mm-hmm. And then that propels you into the next goal you have, or the next activity that makes you feel a little drawn it back and like just not wanting to put yourself out there and go, why not? What do I have to lose?
Yeah, that's so true. Because after that, I keep stepping in, you know, into places where it's scary. Yeah. You know, it's scary. But I'd love to start. I know you grew up and you had 2 older brothers.
Yes.
So I'd love to start back as, you know, growing up with 2 older brothers. I'm sure there was a lot of competition there.
Oh, totally. Totally.
So bring us back there. You know, how was that growing up with 2 older brothers, and who were you as a little girl?
So I am lucky to have 2 amazing brothers that still to this day, we have a great relationship. But yes, they were into sports. You know, growing up, both of our parents worked. So at home during the summers, our oldest brother watched my other brother and I. And everything was a game. Everything was a competition. And back then, you know, we didn't have video games. We didn't have that stuff. So if you want to have fun, you're outside in the neighborhood and doing anything and everything active. And so I developed a love for sports. I developed a love for anything with a group environment, a team effort. But I honestly attribute my athletic abilities and my competitive drive to my older brothers. I give them those accolades, which of course they like to credit themselves with my Olympia titles. Fine, that's fair. But it helped me realize, let's be real, I was the annoying, pesky little sister that was just, hey, can I hang out? Hey, can I play with you guys? And they would challenge me to do tricks and skills to just kind of keep me away for a few days. But it ended up helping me as a person to go, okay, how bad do I want this? And I need to put in work. So for example, one of the first dares was to learn a no-handed cartwheel.
Oh, wow.
We had a friend in the neighborhood, one of the other neighbors, that was a gymnast. So she would do gymnastics tricks in the neighborhood and at the park. So they would see what she was doing. And they're like, you need to learn that. When you learn that, you can hang out with us for a day. Oh, hell yeah, that's what I wanted. So I would focus and I would spend days. I mean, we didn't have the internet to use as a resource, so I became a visual learner. I realized that you have to do how many reps of something to finally actually get it, and you can't give up easily. And then it gave me that goal of, okay, this is something I want to accomplish. Once I did, it was like, oh my gosh, I never thought I could do that. And I just tried and tried and tried. Now, granted, there were a lot of fails and, phase plants and probably things that my parents would have never allowed if they were home during that time. But it taught me so many basic skills. Honestly, it's facing fear. Trying to do something that's like a gymnastics, a flip or a trick when you have no training, you don't know how to do it, you have no idea how to land it, you know that you could get injured. But I tried to be methodical about it, and I would sit and watch her and just literally then visualize myself doing the skill, and then I would try it, and then I'd make my own progressive steps to learn the skill. So it helped kind of open up this whole different way of learning, as well as really pushing myself that I didn't even give any credit to until I was in high school and realized, oh my gosh, all those years of being a little sister and being challenged really set me up for who I am in life. So, again, the fact is they were amazing brothers and they never wanted me to get hurt, and they didn't even realize what they were doing except just trying to get me to be on my own and not bother them. But it was an amazing childhood.
So how long did it take you to learn to do
we talk about it sometimes. So the aerial ended up taking, which is the no-handed cartwheel, about a week. And then it turned into things like a back handspring and a back flip. I mean, to be honest, they were daring me to do things that I was in second and third grade with no training is not smart. But I would bring my pool raft out and use that kind of as my cushion and would just go. And when you're younger, you don't have the fear like you do as an adult. Yes. So it kind of created this no fear mentality of me. I never really, you dare me to do anything, and sadly to this day I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
So
I'm in.
Build like you wanting to be up for that challenge. And I'm a little bit like that too. Somebody that says we can't do it, then I'm like, well, you prove that. Because one thing, I've always been active. I've always I think at 16 years old I asked my mom for my birthday for a fitness membership, where she was working out. And it's just so when people say, oh, you're so fit, and she's always been like that, and then they put out an excuse for them to not be able to achieve that. Mm-hmm. But I still remember, when I was young, they're like, well, just wait till you have kids. Oh, and just wait. And then that was almost like, okay, great, And I just stayed active throughout my not pregnancy in a safe manner, But even afterwards, it was always a part of me doing that. I'd incorporate with my kids. I had set up a home gym, and I would bring them, and then they'd work out with me as they were older, so it became a family affair. But it was just more, don't tell me that I can't do it, because I'll actually even more motivated to keep doing it. And then tell me, you went to college and you went a business degree as well. Yep. Mm-hmm. And what was your first career?
So I got into mortgages actually. And that was just through a family friend connection. And I thought, okay, sure, let's do that. I didn't love the industry. I love the sales. I love the challenge of having to go in blind and try to close yourself, whether it was getting realtors, getting new clients to do their actual mortgage loan. But I didn't love the industry itself. but I loved that grind and the hustle. Then I had an opportunity to work for an ad agency in Phoenix and loved that because that provided that creative outlet and helped kind of grow from, it was a small ad agency at that time. As it was growing, I was there for, 6 years, and loved that because it allowed me to help lead a team. I went in blind to some major accounts, just not knowing. I mean, I was, 22, 23. And again, just not, I think not being told you can't do this, because it was a smaller agency and they loved all hands on deck. If you had ideas, they allowed you to kind of support, and went into some big meetings as a complete newbie and just was like, literally would ask for the account. And my boss would look at me sometimes and like, you don't just do that. But it worked, and we would get the account. So that was fun because, again, it was that hustle of trying to find a way to relate to somebody. What are their pain points? What are their needs? And how can we address it? And so when I looked at things like that, it wasn't ever following a normal structure. It was, what do they need? How can we provide that for them and make this a win-win? And so I loved that experience. Coming from mortgages, it was different. And then working with the ad agency, having that creative outlet to design massive marketing campaigns, commercials, billboards, and then leading a team really helped me realize, okay, that entrepreneur that I've always wanted to be since I was little, I need to do that. But what is that going to be? And then due to a situation where I was pregnant with my second child, I was on bed rest for 3.5 months. Oh, wow. And, you know, for people who are active like you and I, that is like a death sentence. Oh, yes. You know, it's like, wait,
extremely hard. Yeah.
So at that point, you know, I'd always been active and loved it. And when I was working at the ad agency, I loved like coming home, and I had a home gym, and I would train some neighbors or friends and family and write diets. And just loved that as a way to kind of disconnect, help hold me accountable. And I loved to see the transformation. So I was doing that. But when I was on bed rest, I realized people take for granted the ability to move every day. And here I was. I mean, I had to lay flat. I couldn't even sit up in bed or I would start having contractions. Wow. So it was lay flat and just kind of move your chin to watch TV or have any type of activity. And I was in and out of the hospital for 3.5 months to stop the contractions. And I would cry all the way to the hospital going, I just want to walk around the neighborhood. Like, this is so crazy, the desire I had, and how I would think people don't realize when this is taken away, you want it so bad. And so it became this personal mission to go, this is my calling. This is what I am supposed to do. I was put in this situation because I'm needed for this purpose to inspire people.
I totally see this so much in people. You're almost stopped in your tracks.
Totally.
I hear that so much. Like you have no choice because you're in the silent, you know, kind of all, you have to just sit in your thoughts.
Yeah.
You had to slow down because obviously you were a career woman. You were probably fast-paced. You already had your first child. You were married as well.
Yeah.
And so God had to stop you in your tracks almost to be in your own thought, to follow your true purpose, your soul alignment. Because I have a similar story where they had found a cyst on my vocal cord, and I had to have a surgery, and I couldn't talk, couldn't use my voice for at least 3 weeks, and using a board with my little kids. And to try, and one could read, one could not, so it's voice activation. So really, I sat in my thoughts a lot. And it realized God is telling me to use my voice to stop suppressing. So, and I hear that in similar stories of like cancer stories and this and that, where all of a sudden there's a pivot in your life that really changed your trajectory. And I see that with you with your pregnancy.
For sure. I mean, it totally was. And to be honest, you know, I feel like life is full of pivots, and some people fight it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what direction I was going at that point. I thought, gosh, do I really quit this job at this ad agency that I have worked and built this amazing career and opened up opportunities? And it was like, and quit and went into the gym. There was a gym right behind my house. Literally walked in and said, can I get a job working minimum wage as a personal trainer? And I thought, what am I doing? But in my heart, I knew this was the path. And it was just to learn, okay, this is what I need to figure out from the gym industry. I've never owned a gym, but after a year and a half, it was like, all right, let's take that leap. I'm going to do it, dive in. And just, again, knowing in order to really level up, in order to truly make an impact and use the voice, use your platform, you have to take some wild risks. Now, I try to always be strategic and make calculated risks, but I didn't know really what was in store, but I knew in my heart, and I still to this day feel if you do it with passion and you do it for the right reasons, you will not fail.
I believe that.
And so I just went
I always say
in.
abundance will come. It might not right
Totally.
away.
Right.
It might be a
Yep.
slow progression, but if you're following your purpose, God will always provide.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's been a wild ride, but again, it's like there have been so many things in my life that I have to, like you said, just sit back and take it in and go, why is this happening? It's not happening to me, it's happening for me. And there's a reason, there's a lesson, and this might be the time to pivot. Yeah. You know,
so you
and
start personal training, and now you
Yeah.
have your gym. So how do you get into Miss Olympia? Like, how did you get
So
into
you'll
that?
find this funny because we already addressed how if someone says you can't do something, you're like, oh yeah. So I was at the gym. So it was before I even owned my gym yet. I was just at the gym as a trainer, and I kept seeing these women come in and slowly transforming in a healthy way and just getting fit and toned. And I thought, what are they doing? You know, like what activity is it that they're doing? And someone had said, oh, it's a competition, they compete. Well, I didn't know anything about the industry. And I was like, huh. And they go, well, you could never do that. And instantly it was like, I don't know what we're doing, but yeah, I'm all in. And so there was a competition several months later. So I found out what it was I signed up for and agreed to shortly after. And just was like, well, cool. You know, at that point, I had been doing marathon and triathlons, endurance events just for fun. But it's making like a huge wear and tear and taking a toll on my body. So I thought, well, this is something different. Let's just do it. Try it, bucket list item. Long story short, I loved it. I competed in the figure division first, which is just where you go out and they judge your physique. But at that show, I saw these girls listening to music, and they had costumes on, and they were having a good time while everyone else over here was just nervous. And I thought, I don't know who those girls are, but I want to be with them. That's how I learned about the fitness division, which is where you do a routine. So 2/3 of your score is based on an athletic, performance, dance, choreographed routine, and then they still judge you on your physique. Well, again, I have no formal training. I'm trained by my brother's dares for gymnastics, but I just loved it. Had never seen a routine before my first competition and did it all wrong, but had a blast and loved it and said, you know, I like this challenge, this goal, and I loved the creative outlet. So at that point, as I started getting into competing, was when my life changed in regards to, you know, I have 2 little ones, I have a brand new business, and found out some things with my marriage that I wasn't okay with, and it just took a total twist and turn on my life as I had kind of planned it out. So it became an outlet for me to have something positive to focus on.
Like a creative outlet. I always say it's so important for people to find that creative outlet, what that is, right?
It really is.
To feel kind of nourish the soul, almost, you know, that creative outlet.
Especially when there's a lot of negativity, hard emotions, like a dark cloud. I'd lost my mom as well shortly before that.
Oh, wow.
So I was just dealing with a lot. And here I have 2 sweet little boys, ages 3 and 5, that I thought
3 and 5. So divorce and wow, your business and you're losing your mom. How did you handle? I mean, that's a lot of grief there, because divorce, I always say, is grief.
It
you know,
is.
for the whole family, for your kids as well. So how did you and your family process that grief for your mom and a divorce?
So my mom passing was first, and that was tough because she was my best friend. I mean, there's no one I look up to more in my life, and it became a fast and furious. She was diagnosed with cancer unexpectedly. They caught it. She went in, thinking she just had a cold. Long story short, they ended up finding cancer. It was stage 4, and it was rapid decline.
What kind of cancer did she have?
She had lung cancer.
Lung cancer.
And so she was a smoker when she was younger, but she had quit. And so, again, you're like, oh, thank goodness she was getting healthy for years. Doesn't matter. And sadly, my mom was never sick. So when she was sick with a cold, we thought, oh, this is weird. But she went in and they did an x-ray on her chest and it was a chest x-ray. They took the wrong image. And so the tech actually screwed up, but the image found the spot on her lungs. Oh. If that tech wouldn't have screwed up, they would have never known. But it was stage 4. And so it happened so fast in a period of 7.5 months where we found out, and then she started chemo, was trying to recover her decline, and then ultimately she passed. And so I think, too, my mom was ultra positive. I wasn't prepared like I feel like I should have been. I think I was a little in denial. Yeah. So that aftermath was rough. And then, finding out things and my divorce and then stress of the business and my little ones. I knew within that first week of processing and starting the divorce process, it was up to me to figure out a way to not let me be a statistic. Mm-hmm. I did not want to just go crazy, lose my mind, fly off the handle. I didn't want to dive into unhealthy habits, drinking, any of the stuff that is the stereotypical coping. And that's how I poured into fitness. I knew it was the one thing every day that I could feel good about. At the end of the day, did I get my workout in? Did I eat well? Did I do something to help me feel good when I was constantly hammered all day with all these things that hurt me, made me sad, and I couldn't control it? So naturally, as humans, we crave some element of control. Fitness was the element of control for me where I could smile and be proud of myself and know just keep doing something that you can pat yourself on the back at each day.
Yeah, and that was a positive outlet. I know I had similar thing after I lost my husband. I knew to avoid. I said, okay, I almost instantly was like, well, I can't fix what, the past. I said, I got to live in the now, and I could be so present for my kids because they can't. I saw the pain of losing their father. I said, they can't lose me too.
Right.
So I got to do everything in my power to take care of me, and me not being able to eat, feeling like I'm having a heart attack. Yeah. I sleep. I'm going to have to fix that, take care of myself. And I remember actually almost being afraid. Like, I like my glass of wine with dinner.
Yeah.
I was afraid to even touch alcohol. And I didn't drink for almost a year after that because I just knew I'm not going that path. It's not what my body needs right now.
Right.
And I really, truly avoided it. And that's where it was actually an organ donor specialist at the hospital. I was frantic to find a counselor for my kids. And they said, no, you need to find one. You need to work on yourself. And I really did, and working out was also an outlet for me, and it always has been. Yeah. That I keep showing out. It feels good. It boosts the endorphins. So really watching your environment, what you're choosing in those critical time that you're in,
Well, and to the same point, I remember going out and my friends are like, you just need a girls' night. And I'm like, you're right. And the alcohol, I didn't cry that hard in like probably 6 months. And I thought, okay, alcohol's not the solution for any of this because I feel so much worse, which granted, we know that, but same type thing. I thought I have to control my emotions to the best of my ability. So don't allow things in your life that trigger you or trigger bad emotions, trigger sadness. And that's an element that we have to control no matter what's going on in your life. You have to find ways to create a smile for yourself. You can't rely on others. You have to dig deep to go, okay, I've got to get through this. People deal with horrible stuff every day all over the world. You're capable of doing it too. Yes. And it's not going to be easy, but you have to put in the work every day, every hour, every minute. Bring
in like more light every day because you have so much darkness around, right?
Exactly.
So much grief and, stress. So what is it you're going to help yourself to bring more light in every day?
Exactly.
To allow that. So I love that you're teaching that to your kids as well. I'm sure they saw you, winning these these fitness, Miss Olympia. I mean, that was probably trickled down to them as well, seeing you rise, even though there was so much pain around. Now, is there anything for grief-wise for your sons? Is there anything that helped them? Was it exercise as well? And
for them, so they were really young, and my 5-year-old at the time, he had a better grasp of kind of, wait, why aren't we all living together and stuff like that. But it's almost like I was glad they were that young, because my whole goal was try to not make this anything that affects them. Now, that sounds kind of crazy, right? How can it not affect them? But my ex was still focused on being a great dad, and that's all I wanted him to be at that point. Obviously things with us went south, but we have 2 kids. Let's do the best to co-parent them together. So we never fought in front of them. I tried very hard. I mean, there's those days where you are just crumbling inside, and I would find ways to sneak away, wipe my face, and come out with a smile and almost fake it till you make it, because at that point they don't understand it. But we would talk a lot, and anytime I kind of saw them quiet or become a little more introverted, we would openly talk about it. And then, of course, with my ex, we would openly talk to them about this is okay, and just really making sure they felt safe. Things changed a little. We tried to never make it, sound like this is concrete right from the beginning, but really just making sure that, hey, you're going to be at 2 different houses. We tried to make it a fun thing.
Yeah.
As crazy as that sounds. And of course, I second guess, is this the right way? But I would watch how they would respond, and they would kind of get excited. So I just tried to play into what I was feeling from them, what I was hearing from them. And at that point, it just created this amazing relationship. My boys and I are so close. They're now 16 and 19. And I love that we can talk about anything. Literally, there's nothing off limits. But I think it's because from an early age, we had that open dialogue. And I honestly think sometimes, had that not happened, would I have been that close and been able to have such deep, intimate conversations about their feelings and their emotions? Because prior to that, you're focused on your family unit and your husband, but not that one-on-one emotional attachment. So, again, I try not to ever question, why is this happening? I just go with whatever God is handing me and try to make the best of any situation. And I truly look back and go, thankfully, I feel like we did a good job of trying to co-parent and navigate a very difficult situation.
Yeah, I love that. It was a gift, because look, it taught your kids at a very young age emotional intelligence and how you deal with conflict, and how mom and dad could still co-parent and in a healthy way.
Right.
So I think it was a gift. I even say that for my kids, as hard it is to lose their dad so young. They were 6 and 8, but they learned very early on how to emotional intelligence and talk about the feelings, and what are those tools to feel better when you're going through these these waves of grief, at a very young age. Now, I love that you have this saying H2G2.
Yes.
Can you explain that? I love it.
Yeah. So it's hilarious because it's still all over my house. Every mirror in my house. If you come to my house, you're going to see H2G2 written in lipstick.
I love it.
Which obviously there's a better method now, but I update it every so often on the refrigerator, in my boys' rooms, in my room. H2G2 stands for you don't have to, you get to. And of course, in any point in my life where I've felt this dark cloud, why is this happening? I got to flip my mindset.
Yeah, because you've broken 18 bows, right?
Well, I've broken more than that. I've had 18 surgeries.
18 surgeries, that's what it was.
Yes.
18 surgeries. But you won Miss Olympia with a broken leg. So that's probably when that saying came in, right?
It's a power of mindset. And you look at anything in life. Now, there's choices. Did I choose to compete? Absolutely. So when you're having these days of, gosh, I have to follow this diet. I need to get my workout in. I'm tired. I don't want to do my routine practice. Do I have to, or do I get to? And so, again, no one's forcing me to do that. So it changes that connotation from something negative and to, I chose this. And I need to appreciate this opportunity. And that saying goes towards anything. This podcast, I don't have to do it. You know, I got up this morning. I was excited. I get to do this podcast with you. And people challenge me on it. And I literally to this day will say, challenge me. Same thing. Something as awful as a death. You know, I don't have to deal with this death. My mom didn't have to die. She got to die. But there's a lesson in everything. And when you can look at something as difficult as that, you know, I get to really honor her as a person and reflect on the gifts she gave me. I get to honor her legacy. I get to pass on every good trait she gave to me, to my children. So you can look at it one of two ways, but when you change it from I have to I get to, you again kind of get that control back to go, I'm going to make the best of this, and I'm going to turn any negative situation into a positive. There's always gold in something if you choose to look at it that way. And I will constantly, each day, there'll be something, oh, I have to, and people will call me out, and I love it because it's just that normal thought process. It's the normal words we use, but when you change it, it takes me back to go, okay. And so it's everywhere to remind my boys, my family, guests, you don't have to do anything in life.
I'm going to be using that. My kids, even this morning, I don't want to go to school, but that's a new school. Now I'm going to be using that.
Yeah. It's like how many kids would love to go to school and they don't have that opportunity. It is I would try it on my boys when they were younger and they would battle me, but they had not seen certain things like, so many other countries and the poverty that those kids would die to go to school, to have the education, to have the social network, to be able to learn and have an opportunity to create the life they want for themselves. As they grew older, they would look at it and go, okay, or I don't want to go to practice today. Well, you made the team. There's plenty of other kids who would love your spot. You get to go to practice. They would love to. So it's an interesting concept that I still to this day hammer away to clients, friends, my boys, myself, because it just can shift things in a moment's notice to go, all right, and it changes your thought process.
Yeah, and we need those constant shifts, every day. Because for me too, I don't have to do this podcast, but I get to, because for me, lose my husband to suicide, if I can inspire another wife that has young children that lost their husband right now, that they will be okay, that they can see that they're going to find joy, down the line. There is a process. And if I can inspire somebody to do that, and I know you've done that as well, right?
Right.
Tell them the story about the football player, right?
Yes.
It was a high schooler.
It was a high schooler.
Yes.
Yep. So I used to hide my experiences, my situations, just because growing up, it was like, okay, you keep everything to yourself. As I got into the sport as an athlete, I started realizing, okay, some of the stuff I've gone through is unique. And maybe, to your point, if someone heard this story, they would be inspired. So I was on a documentary, Generation Iron 3, and it documented my journey where I had broke my neck. I was prepping for one of my competitions, and I do breakdancing, and doing a head spin, I broke my neck, and everyone said my career was over. And I think for me, I was in disbelief, like, what? No way, it's just an injury. Granted, it's a pretty severe injury.
Broken neck,
But, right? So as I was going into surgery, there was a time that insurance was an issue, and I was losing daily movement function of my arm. My right arm was just like worthless at that point. And surgery was the option, but there was 50-50 shot if I was ever going to regain any feeling or any movement in my arm, much less all the other stuff it affects. But in that process, I was looking online, forums and research, like somebody as an athlete had to have experienced this and has this awesome comeback. There was nothing. And I thought, no, like I need hope right now. There wasn't any. So my goal came to be, I'm going to have this surgery. I'm going to recover, and I will be that one article that hopefully pops up to give someone hope. So had surgery. Long story short, I decided I'm going to do a competition, the Arnold, which I had qualified for in 2018. I didn't know what it was going to look like. Honestly, I was realistic thinking, I'm not going to be the athlete I was, but I will go out on my own terms. I will finish my athletic career